Homeowners selling their homes over the last decade or so in my market of Surrey and the Fraser Valley have been absolutely spoiled. That's because market conditions have led to home prices rising at a rapidly unhealthy rate, causing home sellers that wanted too much money for their homes to, well, get what they wanted or even more. But in a declining market or in just a regular real estate market, buyers have choice to buy either your home or maybe the one down the street. So this leads sellers to think that they aren't getting enough for their home, and in order to actually achieve a sale, they're going to have to sell for under market value. Well, that just simply isn't the case. As a home seller, you might not like what buyers are offering on homes like yours, but if your home is exposed to the market properly and on the multiple listing service, it's not that buyers aren't willing to pay market value for your home. It's that you as the seller don't like the current values that are being offered in today's market. Recently here on the channel, I posted this video that I will link a little bit later on that demonstrates things that you should consider when trying to price your home correctly for sale. But the factors mentioned in that video are fairly objective, and that's how real estate agents try their best to inform their sellers of what they should list their homes for when going to market. But sellers, well, they don't really think that way. No matter what you tell yourself when you're selling your home or investment property, you undoubtedly are making an emotional decision and then trying to back it up with reason rather than making an objective decision about price. And you can't be blamed for that. It's your property. You love it. You have memories there, and you want to get out every penny that you possibly can out of the property to help you on to the next stage of your life, whatever that might be. So with all that said, now I'm going to share with you the 8 objections every single seller talks themselves into in order to help justify wanting too much money for their home compared to what the market is willing to bear.
They're not going to want to hear this one.
Yeah, well, I'm not holding back in today's video. If you are currently selling real estate, or if you have ever sold a piece of property and you have said any of these 8 things to yourself or out loud to your agent, you are not making a rational and informed objective decision, but rather you're making an emotional decision and rationalizing it after the fact. Yes, I understand. I'm being harsh, but let me tell you, I'm no better myself. I've sold my own home many times. I've sold investment properties as well. And I too have said these things to myself. But I never really internalized this message that I'm trying to get across to you today until I heard my own wife say one of these 8 objections to me when selling our last home. And that's when I really clued in. It wasn't exactly rational what she was saying, but rather it's more of a way that us as sellers protect ourselves from a scary and uncomfortable situation that is selling your family home or your prized investment. And in fact, a way better way to protect yourself in a real estate transaction is to book a call with me right now using the link in the description below at a time that works best for you. You could also subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the market. And please click the like button to get this video out to more people trying to sell their homes that will probably take extreme offense to me telling them how it is. Now let's set this up a little bit. When I meet with someone trying to sell their home after talking about marketing and services and timelines and expectations, usually the last step is getting down to price. Any good agent at that point will have put together a CMA, or what we call a comparative market analysis. And that is the point when homeowners use these 8 objections that they have to tell themselves at the end of the meeting that end up leading them to price their homes wrong. And if you price your home incorrectly in the initial stages, you will either end up taking longer to sell, you may sell for less in the future, or heaven forbid, you may not sell at all. Starting with the objection, that house doesn't compare to mine. You see, in the evaluation, there'll be recent solds and active listings and expired listings that either did or didn't sell, or they might be your competition. And the agent's job is to find comparable homes to yours. So in other words, given things like the number of bedrooms, square footage, age of construction, size of the lot, these are things that need to be narrowed down towards you and your specific property. And let's face it, as a seller, you're not in a lot of these homes all the time. So you will just generally have an emotional reaction to say, well, you know, that one that sold for less, that doesn't really compare to my home at all. However, it does fit the same age, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and other crucial parts of the CMA. So it is very much comparable to your home. And on, I guess, the reverse of this, it's very, very common that a seller will take the highest price listing that did sell in their neighborhood and then try and compare it to their home, even though it had another 1,000 square feet inside the home, another 10,000 square feet on the lot, and another 8 bedrooms. So you have to try to be honest with yourself. Are the homes that are in the analysis that your agent is bringing you truly comparable to your home? And this is where sellers will talk themselves into the fact that, they're in or out of a cul-de-sac, across from a park or across from a school, or none of those things. Whatever the feature is that they have in their home, they like to say that it's worth more than the comparables that are in the analysis. But buyers don't care about that. Buyers are looking for a certain size, square footage, price, and therefore they are going to view those other homes. And let's face it, there's a very good chance the homes that are brought to you in an analysis by your agent are very comparable, if not extremely comparable, to your property. Along the same lines, objection number 2, my home is way nicer than that one in your analysis. This is maybe true. It's nicer for you. And maybe you're looking for a buyer that feels your home is nicer than the one that did sell. But the one that sold for X amount of dollars is now market value. Whether or not you deem your house to be nicer, well, let's face it, I deem my house to be the nicest house on the block because I live there, I'm proud of it, and I did it the way I wanted it to be. But my home may have some characteristics that buyers don't value. And just because you like your home doesn't necessarily mean that the buyers feel that it's got the highest level of value for the price at that time in the market. Objection number 3 that sellers say almost every single time, I've upgraded more than that one down the road. Now, upgrades, you really got to be careful with upgrades. First of all, you're never getting every dollar back on money spent. So let's say you did a crazy good renovation on your property and you spent $200,000. At best, I'm telling you, at best, you're getting back maybe 75 cents on the dollar. So to think that you're going to get your $200,000 that you put in plus another $50,000 for your headache of doing the renovations, it's just not the case. So in this example, let's say the property is worth $1 million. The one down the street sold for $1 million. You put in $250,000. You put in $200,000, but let's say $50,000 for your headache and hard work. Yeah, at best, if you've got a beautiful renovation, you might be worth $150,000 more than the one down the street if they did nothing from day one. But chances are they did some renovations as well. So let's put another 50 grand on their value, bringing you down to $100,000 higher for your $250,000 renovation that you want. So you've actually priced your home likely $150,000 in the wrong direction. When you live in an area like Surrey and the Fraser Valley and any metro area, Vancouver, Toronto, if you live in these areas, your renovations a lot of the time are actually throwing money away in comparison to somebody down the street that didn't do any renovations at all. The value for the most part is in the dirt. And although you may have upgraded your home, if the new one down the street is asking the same price and your home is 20 years old, everybody else is going to go down the street and buy that brand new home. There's something to brand new. The actual asset itself also devalues over time. So unfortunately, most of the value of your home is contained within the dirt beneath it rather than the upgrades. Objection number 4, and this is a fun one. I'm not giving it away. Of course, you're not giving it away. Last time I checked, in this real estate market, the average home in my market anyway is $1.5 million. You're never giving it away. And this is more of just a protection to say, I want to make sure I get every dollar out of it that I possibly can. I can't blame you for that. I want to do the same thing with my investments. You should want to do that with yours. However, you can't look at the active listings on the marketplace and compare those to where the solds are. The solds are usually less than the actives. That's why the actives are not sold. So you may look at giving your property away as the lower price, but that's actual market value. Now, this next one's a little silly, but bear with me. I'm going to use a little bit of an example. But we installed Hunter Douglas blinds, and down the road, they still have the original blinds from the developer. Yeah, I get it. You installed the best stuff. I understand. But let me tell you, whether or not you pick the higher quality of paint, the higher quality of flooring, or the upgraded appliance package, those things are very small determiners of value. And you have to think, if new blinds cost me $5,000 to do the home, it's not going to sell for $50,000 more than the guy down the street. And likely it's just going to help you sell the home faster as a nice to have. And most people aren't making their home buying decisions off of the quality of paint you use or the quality of blinds that you installed at that time. So if you're installing high-end products into your home, you should do it because you value those products, not because you're looking for a return on the other side. You're simply not going to get it. This one's fun and a rationale that every single seller I've ever met that had a recent sale down the street has told me. And that is, those sellers down there, they had to sell or they were desperate. Let me tell you, I'm in my career, in my now, 16 years, something like that, I have never, not once ever, had a client come to me and say, I have to sell. I'm desperate. I need to get out right now. That is not the case. A property actually could be undersold. If it's not exposed to the market, maybe if it's done on an exclusive listing or if it's a private sale, it can easily be undersold. But if a property is on the market and exposed to the MLS system, all of the buyers get to see that property. And if they see value, they are going to offer. Now, this one kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with there was something wrong with that home. That could actually be the case. If there was something wrong with that home, they had to sell it, they couldn't do the repairs, that might be valid. But realistically, you don't come across homes with major foundational issues very often that are going to cost $400,000 to repair. So if you want 400 grand too much, I mean, it's just not really a realistic situation. If the property was exposed to the market and they ended up selling at a lower price than you like, and it's within the CMA, you have to be honest with yourself about, let's talk about the condition of the home, the renovations, or the situation. To say that someone is desperate to sell because maybe they're the executor of an estate, they do have to sell. They have to sell. They're going to sell the property, but they're not desperate to go back to another objection that we just had, give it away. They aren't trying to give it away. I've never been in a listing ever where the agent comes to me and says, I hope your buyer's offer on this, we're hoping to give it away under market value. That does not happen. No matter how desperate you think the guy is down the street, this is likely not the case. And rather, that seller was just motivated at that time to sell the property at market value. And when you're in a market like we're in right now, that value is going to be a lot less than it was months or years ago. How about this one? I'm not selling unless I get my price. This is what happens right now in the marketplace a whole lot. We'll have properties on the market at a certain price. Again, let's use $1 million for a nice round number. And in some areas, Mission in Abbotsford, those homes were selling for $1.3 million at the peak. So I'm not selling unless I get that 1.3, that high water mark. That's where I want to be. But those prices just aren't here now. And the other side of that is if you wait, say in this example, from $1 million back to $1.3 million, could be a year, could be 5 years, could be 10 years, could be 20 years before you get back there. Who knows? That we don't know what the future has in store. But whatever you're trying to go to is also going to increase likely by that same amount. It's not like your home value is going to stay high amongst the rest of the market while it's dropping. So you have to kind of step back and say, okay, am I going to see the benefit of buying in a lower market and the downside of selling in a lower market? Or am I going to wait for the market to turn back around, get my price? Then it's going to be super hard for me to get into whatever I wanted to get into before because that price has gone up as well. And the last objection, and a version of this is the one that my wife told me when we sold our last home. So this is the one that really brought it back to me. We are in no hurry. And that's kind of also along the lines of, we don't really need to sell. This is another one of those protectionist things where you're saying, listen, I'll wait for my price. I don't mind. We don't really need to sell the home. We just want to sell the home if we get our price. But the fact is, In a market that's declining like the one we're in right now, the longer you wait, the less you will sell for. Think about that. If homes are selling for $1 million right now and they dropped 5% last month, maybe they're down to $950. If they drop another 5% next month, we're going to be somewhere just around the $900,000 mark. You cannot be in a hurry when the market's going in the other direction, but realistically, if you're not in a hurry to sell, you're not interested in the buyers that are in the marketplace right now, and you're just hoping that a turn-up truck comes around the corner and some idiot falls off of it that's willing to pay you too much for your home. And again, buyers are educated these days. It's just not the case. And the version of that my wife said to me, we don't really need to sell. We wanted to sell. Like, who are we trying to kid here? We were done with our last home. It had served us well. It was a great investment at the time. Of course, we didn't need to sell, but we wanted to, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's okay to admit to yourself that, you know what, indeed, I do want to get this thing gone. But again, it's a protectionist thing to just say the market's not really bearing what I want, so I'm just not gonna sell. So if you've told yourself any of these 8 things in the process of selling your home, don't worry. Just try to admit to yourself that, well, you're just human. And then take a step back and watch this video for a better understanding of how to objectively price your home for sale. Then subscribe, click the like button, and we'll see you in a couple of days.